freely. And the height is a half time. This is a constant. Actually, it's the same what we call the gravitational constant, 9.88 meters per second squared, and the time squared. So it's very easy for a high school student to take his or her pocket calculator and then find out how long time will it take for an object to fall 2 meters. And I will make a little demonstration subjecting my hairbrush to free fall from 2 meters height. It has tried it many times before. I will count to 4 and I will release it on 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is free fall. Nothing prevents my hairbrush from hitting the floor before I reached 4. And if you had been very fast with a stopwatch or whatever, you would have found out that this would be roughly 0.66 seconds. Now, it means that when the 47-story floor of Building 7 began to drop, it fell as if there was nothing supporting it. All supporting structure of the building was eliminated in that moment, at that moment. And if somebody, some idiot, would have been standing on the 47th floor and released a stone or an apple at the same time, the stone or the apple will move outside the building. The stone or the apple will move at the same speed, constant acceleration, downwards as the 47th floor. We have a little demonstration video here showing this phenomenon, and this is free fall. This ball going on.
The ball has started to drop, yet 7 World Trade is still above the starting line. At the 1 second mark, 7 World Trade and the ball are still even. Seven World Trade indeed falls 100 meters in 4.5 seconds.
So, these are what we have observed, and natural science always starts with observations. It's very basic. We see Building 7 going down with free fall acceleration. We see apparent sudden onset of the entire front we were watching. It went into free fall as a sudden onset. We saw the whole building falling completely symmetrically. Building 7 went all the way down. And if you're not too crazy about mathematics, you can still count to 3. Just do your math, and because there were 2 airliners, but there were 3 skyscrapers, Building 7 was not hit by an airliner. Still, this is what we saw. And this is the problem, the riddle that we have to resolve tonight. And in order to do that, we have to look carefully at going into how was Building 7 actually constructed. Now the design is that which has been dominating since the 1950s of American skyscrapers, meaning that you have a core of very sturdy columns, in this case 24 in number, okay? And you have perimeter columns all the way down and all the way around. This time 57 in number. And they're connected horizontally, of course, with steel beams in a very intricate structure, which I'll show you in a while. But you have horizontal steel beams going all the way around, also connecting the perimeter columns. And then the floors are lined like bookshelves between these horizontal columns. And the floors do not support anything. Well, of course, the people working there. But they're not supporting any of the structure above. They're just there. The load is primarily on the core columns between 60 and 70%, and the rest is taken care of by the perimeter columns, which are a little smaller. It's the core columns which are the sturdy column. I do not have a picture of Building 7 during construction. So I return to the pictures you saw in the beginning of the towers, which were built around the same concept. In this case, 47, I repeat, 47 core columns, 236 perimeter columns. It was over-dimensioned because at that time, this design was new. And stability, really. So it's bar steel. And again, the same picture showing you the columns, the perimeter columns. They're welded together down here. Actually, the welding is stronger than the steel itself. And in particular, the perimeter columns were very strong steel. This is a floor. And it is made up, you have some kind of a wet steel wet underneath. It's more easily seen on this picture here, where you have this network of light steel. On top of it, there's a steel plate, a thin steel plate, which is covered by a concrete slab thickness between 10 and 18 centimeters, depending on what this particular floor was supposed to support. If it was a technical floor, it would be thicker. If it was just an office floor, it would be 10 centimeters. And this is all the concrete which was in the building. So what you see of pulverized concrete is all from the floor slabs. Now, they had a nice view here from the top of the World Trade Center. There's not much else to say about this. We're going back to Building 7 and the steel frame in Building 7. Here you see, this is one of the sides where you see the network of columns and beams, like a mosquito net. And what happens if you punch a pencil through a mosquito net? Nothing, really. Well, the mosquitoes can fly in and out, but the net is still there, it does not collapse. This is the bottom of the core structure. And if you take Building 7 and remove all windows, all doors, and all the walls, this is what is left. This is the steel frame, the gigantic, and what you call it when the kids is climbing up it on the playground, a gigantic something for big kids climbing it, but it was 186 meters high, and the point is here, it is particularly, they're all connected, and it's very solid structure. We'll return to this picture later on, actually, also in the first hour. So, where is the first place where we should expect to find an explanation for how Building 7 collapsed? Was this historically would be the parliamentary report coming out from the 9/11 Commission in 2004. And here we see this lady and the 9 gentlemen smiling at the release of the final report, 700-something 40 pages, where they pretend they covered everything what happened on that fateful day. Except Building 7. They do not mention the collapse of Building 7 at all. It is mentioned on 2 occasions when they're making an account for where Mayor Rudy Giuliani was going, because he was supposed to be in Building 7, he wasn't. But there's no mention of the collapse of this building. And when Thomas Keane, the chairman, was asked, now why didn't you mention Building 7? He said, well, we did not consider it to be important. So, for a technical account of this event, we have to rely on the National Institute of Standards and Technology, who eventually got the enterprise of investigating the technical aspects of the collapse of World Trade Center. And they got $16 million, which is peanuts in this connection, for starting this investigation. Later they got $4 million. And starting out in August 2002, the first thing they did was to take out Building 7 of the whole thing, treating it as a separate investigation. So they took this, they said that they concentrated on the towers, but we know that they were working on Building 7 already from day 1. But it was a separate investigation, and there were supposed to come 2 reports out, one on the towers and one separate on Building 7. And the report on the towers came out in September 2005, and this is a study, or this can be investigated in its own right, and I could keep a lecture as long as this one about this report alone. I will not, because we are zooming in on Building 7. Yes, please.
Was Building 7 just scheduled for demolition
I said, give me.
It might be